Welcome to C Programming Lecture 3. This lecture we will be covering the Linux command line interface basics. What is a command line interface? A command line interface is a text-based way for you to interact with a operating system services or programs. All modern and old operating systems offer some type of command line interface. On Windows, you'll be using something like CMD, or on Linux, you'll be using some type of thing called a shell or terminal. The Linux command line processor is called a shell. A shell is a user interface to the operating system services. Some basic commands in Linux are as follows. CD will change the directory that you're currently in. PWD will print the working directory that you're in. ls will list the contents of the directory that you're currently inside of. Touch will create a file, or more details is it actually creates and modifies timestamps. Clear will clear the terminal screen. Cat will concatenate files and print out the text on your terminal, and man will pull up a manual page for you to read in your terminal. So a brief talk about tools and text editors. So in a prior video, we set up Visual Studio Code, and tools like text editors should be treated as such. They shouldn't be used for arguments, basically. You'll see a lot throughout your career, people enjoying to use one tool over another. Really, it's whatever you're more productive in. Personally, I'm more productive using Vim, but for this course, I find that most people find it difficult to follow me when I'm using Vim over Visual Studio Code. So I chose to use Visual Studio Code instead for this course because it's easy to set up for new users and it doesn't look as old as something like Vim. So now that we've had a pretty brief introduction to Linux, let's go ahead and open up our Visual Studio Code. Now within Visual Studio Code, we're going to have, or we should have, a Linux terminal open inside of here. Now it's going to default to whatever folder you have open, so I'm actually just going to close this folder. Close folder. And now in order to relaunch the terminal, you can either do the shortcut that we learned, or you can go up to terminal and new terminal. All right, so first command, let's go ahead and check out what PWD is. And before we do that, let's give us some space here and type in PWD. So there we see that it actually printed out the directory that I'm currently in. And if we wanted to see some more details about PWD, we could type in man PWD. Now, if for some reason your Linux version, your distro Debian did not come with man, let's try to install it. So we can type something like sudo apt install man. It's going to ask me for my password. Type it in. It says it's already installed. You may or may have not had it installed. So if you did not, then typing man pwd, it would say something along the lines of command not found. So in order to reproduce that, I can type something like test_cmd. It will say test_cmd command not found. You would receive a similar error if the man program was not installed. So let's try another one. Now I have all this junk on my screen that I'd like to get rid of. I believe that we have a command that will just do that for us, and I believe it is clear. So let's go ahead and type clear, enter, and you can see it clears the text out of our terminal. But let's go ahead and figure out what kind of files we have in this directory. So before we do that, let's print out again what directory we're in. Let's go ahead and list the content of the directory. And man, look at all that stuff there. Amazing. Okay. So to clear the screen again, we're going to type clear. And let's figure out what ls does. Do you remember how to figure out what ls does? Or what is a good way besides using Google? Yep, man ls. And you can see here that it says it lists the directory's content. Now you can scroll up and down the man pages by using page up or page down, or the arrow keys, or if you're familiar with Vim, you can use those bindings as well. But if you're familiar with Vim, you're more than likely familiar with Linux, so you probably already know this. Oftentimes you'll see at the bottom an also see section. Sometimes it will be a list of websites, and sometimes it will actually refer to a different manual page. In order to get to a different manual page, you can type something like man, page number, and then the content, and you'll see that there is no man section 3 for this ls command, and nor 7. So some commands will list page numbers for you to check out. Now let's see. Let's go ahead and let's figure out how to change directories. So first thing we want to do is list out the content of this directory. Now these kind of look like folders to me. So let's see which one looks. So I know since I'm in Windows and this seems to be my C drive, I know desktop is a folder. So let's go ahead and change directory to my desktop. Wow, so this actually changed, and if I type pwd, it will actually show me the content, or not the content, the directory I'm in. So let's go ahead and go back. So I can cd ... means go back one directory. And now if we print working directory, we're back inside of the prior directory. Now, these are just really basic commands. I don't expect you to understand, how to traverse folders that well. These are things you'll learn over time. So again, let's go ahead and ls, and let's just see what else we can do. Let's actually clear our screen and see if we can. Let's look up what cd does. That seems like a good idea. So we can type what? Man cd. Wow, no manual entry for cd. Well, that's okay. We already kind of know what cd does. Now, if I just type cd and enter, something kind of weird happened. It just pushed me back to some directory that I'm not even familiar with. It doesn't show up on my neat little command line here. So let's go ahead and type pwd to see where I am. Well, I'm in a folder called home. So let's go ahead and list out what's inside this folder. Okay, we have some things in here. Now let's go to dev and ls this directory. And we also have some more folders. So let's go back one directory. Do you remember how to go back one directory? That is cd ... And again, we'll print the working directory. We're at home and Kane. So let's clear the screen. And let us try to use the touch command. Now, before we use it, let's go ahead and just pull up the man page. And you'll see here that there's a bunch of information on how to use this. And it's all very interesting if you actually need to know how to use a particular command. So we're going to go ahead and quit out. You can either, I believe, hit escape, or no, it looks like Q to quit. We'll go ahead and do touch test.txt, and let's ls, and we can see that we have a file called test.txt. And let us go ahead and see if we can open up this folder. I'm not quite sure how we will do it in here. So will it let me open it up in here? Nope. So usually in Linux, there's an autocomplete, which is what you heard me doing. You can hit tab to complete something. So if I type the letters T, it actually looks like the command line is not cooperating. Okay. So we clear and we can type something like CLEA tab, and it will say all these weird other commands. And yeah, so the other thing that we can do, we can list, remember, and now we can go to, let's go to dev, let's see what's in there. List this, let's see what looks interesting to us. Let's go to the C folder since we're learning C, and clear the screen and list the content. I see a main.c file. That looks interesting. Now, how can we read that? Well, there's another command that we learned called cat. Let's use cat main.c. Well, there you go. That was what was inside that file. So let's look at this other file. Let's see what comes out when we cat that. Oh wow, that was crazy. Let's not do that again. So let's ls, and I'll just quickly explain what was going on. This is a text file, and this is actually a binary file. So the reason why the command line got all crazy was because sometimes those binary symbols mess up with the shell interpreter that's going on in the background, the thing that's reading the text commands that you're feeding this console. So mess around with this some more, look up commands, figure out how to make a directory. I'll go ahead and give you details. It is, make directory. So I'll actually look up the man page for you, but leave it up to you to figure out how to do it. Maybe try to figure out ways that you can create directories, delete directories, just all of the useful things. Some basic understanding of this will help you throughout this course, but it's not necessary that you know all of the intricacies of different commands and how to do things incredibly efficiently in the Linux CLI. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed learning some basic commands with Linux.